Well, good morning, everybody. It's good that you're tuning in with us. I've got my friends Lauren, Madison, and a couple other my friends back here. We're going to lead you guys in some songs. So wherever you're at, your living room, your kitchen, maybe out on your patio, although it's getting a little bit hot, go ahead and stand up with us and let's sing together. I believe that the future is brighter. I believe in his promise for me. I believe that he's working and he's not done. The best is yet to come. I know he makes the anxious courageous. I know he makes the doubters believe. I know he won't stop working 'cause he's not done. The best is yet to come. Come on. I've got this hope in my soul. I know he won't let me go. Lord, I believe with your life in me, I've just begun. The best is yet to come. I believe that he gives second chances. I believe he works all things for good. I believe that he's working and he's not done. The best is yet to come. Oh, I've got this hope in my soul. I know he won't let me go. Lord, I believe with your life in me, I've just begun. Oh yes, I've got this hope in my soul. I know you won't let me go. Oh Lord, I believe with your life in me, I've just begun. The best is yet to come. Oh, I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. Yes, I've got this hope in my soul. I know you won't let me go. Lord, I believe with your life in me, I've just begun. Oh, I've got this hope in my soul. I know you won't let me go. Lord, I believe with your life in me, I've just begun. Best is yet to come.
What a great way to start off, right? I mean, how cool is that, declaring together that the best is yet to come? And you know, you may feel right now like you're just all by yourself and you're sitting on your couch or you're sitting on your device and you're watching this, but here's the truth that you should know. That you are not alone. Your entire church is worshiping with you, and that's something that I think we should hold on to today. And before we move on into the service, if you would just take a moment and share this. You never know the type of impact it's going to have. If you just click that share button, let other people know that you're watching and that you're engaging with us. Well, we have a great service lined up. We really hope that this is the best hour of your whole week. Our band is gonna lead us in a few more songs, and then Joel's gonna come out and he's gonna conclude this series in the meantime. And I don't know about you, but it has felt so timely for me as I've walked through this series with us as a church. So Joel's gonna conclude that series for us. But before then, actually right now, we've got a great song. We started this Easter Sunday, and you guys, you loved it so much that we're bringing it back, and we're gonna sing it again. It's called From Graves to Gardens. So why don't you sing, stand up right now if you're not already. It might feel kind of strange to do that, but stand up and engage with us as we sing this next song.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fail me. praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Come on, let's sing this together. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. Oh, you have been so, so kind to me. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming
during that song how that's not just theory. We have a God who is a personal God, who chases down those who are in need, who goes after them, who leaves people who are in good places and they're okay, and he goes after the people who are in need, the people who are wayward, the people maybe who've been forgotten, who've been lost in the shuffle. And the reason that's not theory is because of what you've done in this community. Through Helper, and I know some of you maybe get tired of the updates. I don't get tired of this stuff. Hearing the way you're impacting people around here, literally you take that song and make it so practical for people. To date, over 700 of you have longed in and said, I'm willing to help through Helper. 135 individuals and 7 organizations helping countless other people have had specific needs met, and we continuously resource these organizations that are helping other people, all because of what you're doing through Helper. 200 specific and unique supplies were delivered to local hospitals, including our Navajo neighbors, their Indian healthcare network. We were able to deliver lots of supplies to those people. And then this week, you showed up in a huge way. All throughout the week, dropping off supplies. You dumped a truckload, actually 7 truckloads to be specific, of resources and support and supplies and groceries on House of Refuge that are helping people. They're in a difficult transition because of the circumstances, because of the unique challenges of this season. And I couldn't be more proud, but the truth is this is exactly what God does as he reaches out and he reaches through the church to connect with people. And I just want to thank you for being a big part of that. And it's not just the big numbers. It's not just all the stuff that's happened. I got to tell you this one little thing. After the trucks were all gone, there was just an amount of stuff that was left over that somebody had dropped off and missed the truck when it went to drop off the supplies. And in came a request through Helper. I can't make this up. For a family of 6, and exactly what they needed was sitting right here on hand, left behind. It's not a coincidence. That's a God who cares about people, and he cares about individuals. And he uses people, faithful people, people who are willing to respond to the call, to rise up, to be his representation, to be his church, to be his expression of love to those who need it most. I just want to say thank you. And I want to thank God. We've been doing this every week. I would love to invite you, even if you're new with us, to join me on your knees right wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. Just join me on your knees. We're just going to continue to declare our dependence on God as we thank him for the way he's moving. We ask him to continue to supply for our needs and to continue to heal our land. God, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For the people who we can't take credit on our own. It's your life in us that compels us. It's your love in us that compels us to love other people. It's your love that's worked in us that allows our love to work in the lives of other people. That's how love works. God, thank you for the way you've moved in people. God, thank you for the opportunity we've had to help, the honor we've had to help both people in need and the people who are helping people in need. What an extraordinary privilege and honor and opportunity we've had in this season. And we just thank you. I thank you for all the people who stepped up to participate. God, today again, we also lift up our healthcare workers who are heroes on the front line, our first responders. God, continue to protect them, continue to protect their families. God, we pray that they would have the resources they need. I pray that they wouldn't only feel celebrated, they won't only feel appreciated, but they would feel like we're standing with them and standing behind them and supporting their efforts in this season. God, same for our leaders. The leaders we have on a national level and on a local level. May we be people who honor and lift up in prayer the authorities placed over us. What a difficult job and a difficult season. And God, we just pray that you give them wisdom beyond their years to lead us through this season. But we don't trust in people. We don't trust in our resources. We trust in you. We put our trust and confidence in you. And here's my prayer. My prayer is that you would draw more and more people closer and closer to you in this season, because there is nothing better for us. There is nothing better in the world, Jesus, than you. What we all need in this season and in every season, maybe we just recognize it more in this season, is we need to be close to you, and we need to be experiencing you and we need to know you more and more. So we just pray you'd reveal yourself to us as we discover more and more our dependency on you. And I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, thanks so much for singing and praying with us. At this time, we're going to continue our worship through giving. And I want to just say this. So many of you have stepped up generously in this season. And there's some people that are in need, and I don't want you to feel guilty because so many other people are beginning to step up as some are in need and aren't able to give in this season. And I just want to say thank you. Your generosity has allowed us to do everything that we're doing, both the things we're doing for our local church and for our local community. So I just want to say thank you. And I would love it now at this time for us all to join together online. And let's give out of worship to God, a God who's been generous to us and given to us first. Let's give back to him.
Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. Yes, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you.
I'm sure you've seen some scary numbers that have been reported this year.
Well, welcome back. We're so glad that you're with us today. We're concluding our series In the Meantime. And if you haven't been with us, I'm going to catch you up in just a second, but I want to tell you what's coming next. We are concluding this series today, but with lots of talk about reopening the nation and reopening our state and a lot of conversations going that direction. I want you to be ready for that. I don't want you to just be ready for that economically, and I don't want you to just be ready for that in terms of getting back to your normal schedule. I want us to move back into this season mindfully. And so we're going to start a brand new series next week called Rebooting Life. Not just rebooting our economy, not just rebooting our normal life schedules. I want to look at what it looks like for us to reboot life in the healthiest of ways, holistically. And I think it's going to take some important information for us in order to do that. So I hope you'll join us next week. It's a great opportunity to invite somebody, if you haven't already, and to share this experience. We're going to kick that off next week. And I think it's going to be helpful for anybody as we're moving into a season where things begin to reopen and life begins to go back to normal. I want us to do that in the healthiest way possible. Well, in this series, we've been asking this question specifically: what do you do when there's nothing you can do? And the truth is there's sort of been a little bit of that, like there's nothing else to do. We've kind of done everything that there is to do. In fact, we've done even things we didn't realize we could do. I've seen some creative online weddings that people have done, online proms, believe it or not, online graduations and graduation ceremonies and graduation parties, which is, I think, is all incredible. And there's all sorts of fun stuff and unique stuff that's going on in unique challenges and unique seasons. Somehow the best in humanity comes out. And so that's been fun to watch. But the thing we've been talking about specifically, and our focus in this series, has been on what do you do when you're sort of in the holding pattern, or you're in the waiting room, or you seem to be in the standstill traffic because nothing seems to be moving forward, that in most cases was forced upon us. What do you do in the meantime? Which is what we've been asking. What do you do? Because for some of us, this has been painful. For others of us, it's been paralyzing, like we don't know what to do. For some, it's been frustrating. It's been frustrating on all sorts of levels. It's been frustrating on relational levels and financial levels, social levels. For some of us, it's been just plain irritating. Some of you out there today, you haven't been personally affected by this, and it's just like, can we get back to life as we knew it before already? But you don't have that decision, and I don't have that decision, and we don't have that option right now. And even though things are beginning to move in that direction, we're still stuck sort of in the meantime. And in the meantime, this is what the Apostle Paul told us the very first week. He said, you should consider this a gift, even if you think it's painful, even if you think it's difficult. In fact, Paul said, I had this thorn, and it was thorn in my side, and his words, not mine, it hurt like hell. And it was actually a gift to me. New Testament writers had completely different perspective. In week 2, James, we looked at the words of James, and James said, look, you should stop focusing on what's going on around you, and you need to realize that God's at work inside of you, and he wants to do something unique inside of you. And so don't take your eyes off, shift your focus off of what's happening around you, and begin to pay attention to what's happening on the inside of you. God wants to do something inside of you. And then Steve Carter was with us last week, which, by the way, I'll just parenthetically, I loved having Steve here. He's a fantastic communicator. If you'd like to see more of Steve, by the way, leave us a message. You can post it in Facebook or whatever social media platform you're on. If you don't want to see more of Steve, just don't put it there, because I really like Steve and I don't want to hurt his feelings. But if you like Steve, I'd love for you to let us know that. I think we're going to bring him back at some point in the near future. So, but last week he talked about Jesus, and Jesus said, hey, look, if you want to, even in the meantime circumstances, if you want to be fruitful and you want the season to be purposeful, you need to remain. Which when Steve told me, when I talked about it, I was like, look, that's not gonna connect. Nobody wants to remain in the middle of what we're in, but it was powerful to talk about the source of power and strength, the source of life that comes by staying and remaining connected to the Father, remaining connected to the vine, which all of this, just by the way, it all seems super counterintuitive, which is actually the point. It is. In the first century, and specifically among the first century Christians, they didn't see times of persecution and trial and difficulty as a contradiction with a God who was good and a God who was faithful. And the truth is they actually, in seasons like this, like in the meantime seasons, they leaned into their faith. And the Apostle Paul is one of the best examples of this. The Apostle Paul, he experienced something, and week 1, we looked at this. If you weren't with us, he experienced something, and here's how he described it. He said it was painful, and it was persistent, like it was continuous. It kept going on and impacting him, and it was debilitating. This was something that was not pleasant. And somehow, Paul said in the meantime of that, dealing with that, God's grace and his power was enough. And spoiler alert, today, he's gonna take that even a little bit further. He's gonna tell us that even in the midst of what he was experiencing here, that he actually found contentment in the midst of his pain, in the midst of this persistent thorn, in the midst of this thing that was debilitating in his life, he found contentment. Now, before we get to that, I want to just talk for a second about why we should take Paul seriously. Now, if you've been a Christian a long time, you're going, well, it's in the Bible. Of course, we should take Paul seriously. But if you're not a Christian, or you're new to the Bible, or you're going, hey, there's other things I have questions about in the Bible, and I haven't yet sort of gone all in on the Bible, here's what I want you to know. I want to give you some quick background on the Apostle Paul, because Paul had a really unique life. In fact, Paul, at first, he was an enemy of Christians. And then after his conversion, he was a devout Jew. After his conversion, he sort of decided he was going all in, and he went all around the world, the known world at the time, the Roman world, the world that mattered. And he traveled all around the Mediterranean rim, and he shared the message of Jesus. He shared the gospel, and he planted churches all over the place. And it wasn't without difficulty. The Apostle Paul, he went from being this Jewish radical to being this Jesus radical. And he took the good news of the gospel literally to the world, which is what he said God told him to do. It was sort of his mandate. And the thing is after 10 years of doing that, he was arrested. Not only did he have to deal with all this, he was arrested and he was sent to Rome, and he's sitting there awaiting trial. Nero's the emperor, not likely to give him any sort of mercy. And he's sitting there awaiting trial in the meantime, and he begins to write letters to churches. In fact, there were 4 specific letters that are known as the prison epistles. They're these letters right here: Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon. In fact, if you want to get a head start, we're going to be looking at a part of his letter in the book of Philippians in just a few minutes. But he wrote these letters from prison. Little did he know that these letters, along with the other letters he wrote, would change the world. It would completely shape the world as we know it. These letters, these weren't written like hundreds of years after Jesus, by the way. These letters were written in 49 to 65 AD. It's just about a 16-year period the Apostle Paul wrote all of his letters. And in this period, he wrote half of the New Testament, wrote all these letters that were preserved, but not only were preserved, they would change society as we know it. All serious historians believe that between 33 AD and 306 AD, there was nobody on earth who shaped society, who shaped the world, who influenced the world more than the Apostle Paul because of his missionary journeys, because of what he taught, because of the words that he wrote while he was in prison. Nobody had more influence than he did. And do you know what gave the Apostle Paul the influence and the leverage he had? It wasn't all of his Jewish background. It wasn't that he was a good teacher. It wasn't all of his rhetoric. It wasn't that he was this charismatic person. Most of the people he influenced through his writing. But here's why he had the influence he had. It was what he wrote through what he endured. It was what he wrote, the nature of what he wrote, through the nature of what he endured. And whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe this or not, your life has been shaped by the words of the Apostle Paul. One quick example. He was the one that wrote, look, there's no differentiation, or better said, there's no hierarchy between Jews and Greeks. There's no hierarchy between slaves and freedmen. There's no hierarchy between male and female, which was unthinkable in their society. There's no difference between any of those. All are equal in Christ. Now, aren't you glad that the Apostle Paul went to prison? He shaped our society in such a powerful way for good because of what he wrote, inspired by God, while he was in prison. And Philippians, the book of Philippians specifically, was a letter that he wrote in response to a care package that he received from some people at a different church that he had planted. And in Philippians chapter 4, if you have your Bible open, or if you got a tablet, or you're using YouVersion, which, by the way, if you don't have a Bible, or if you want something you can carry with you, download the YouVersion app. It's the Bible app that most people use, and there's great Bible plans on there. It's easy to search and find things. Philippians chapter 4, beginning in verse 10, here's what he says. He's responding specifically to the care package he received, and he said, "How I praise the Lord that you are concerned about me again. I'm so grateful. I know you've always been concerned for me, but you didn't have the chance to help me. And now that I'm in prison, you sent me something." And then he says something that's so curious. He says, "Hey, thanks for what you gave me, and I know you think I need all this help, but I just want you to know it's not that I was ever in need, just so you know." To which they hear that, and I don't know if they heard it as ungrateful or if they heard it as, okay, Paul's going crazy. They must have him sort of down in the hole, or he must be in solitary confinement. But they're thinking, hold on a second. You've never been in need? What are you talking about? You've been shipwrecked. You've been stoned. You've been persecuted. You've been run out of town. You've been ridiculed. And reality check, bro, you're in prison, awaiting a trial, soon likely to be on death row. You haven't realized it, Nero is not a big fan of Christians. There's not a lot of hope. What do you mean you're not in need? The Apostle Paul says, it's not that I was in need. Listen, I learned something. I've learned something. And they may have paused there and gone, okay, wait, there's some information we don't know. Paul learned something. Maybe he's getting out. Maybe Nero's had a change of heart. I don't know. He said, I've learned something. Here's what I've learned. I've learned how to be content with whatever I have. Your translation may say, whatever circumstances I'm in. Not that I'm happy with my circumstances. Not that I wouldn't change them if I could. But I've learned, he says, meaning I was in a situation where I wasn't content, but that changed. I've learned how to be okay in my circumstances, my current circumstances. I've learned how to be content. I've learned how to be okay in the circumstances I'm in, even if my circumstances don't change. Now, here's the thing about that is that sort of defies the natural law of cause and effect. Now, we don't have to stick around with physics too long, but you remember this. You probably remember this, I don't know, freshman year physics. It might have even been earlier than that. There's a natural law of cause and effect, and it can be summed up in 2 words. It can be summed up if then. If something happens, then something else happens. It's the law that describes a relationship between 2 events. The second being as a result of the first. The second is sort of understood as a consequence of the first. And it's often, by the way, something that we use when we're explaining or we're making an excuse for something that we've done. We say, look, if she hadn't, done this, or if this hadn't happened to me, then I wouldn't have fill in the blank. If fill in the blank hadn't happened to me, then I wouldn't have fill in the blank. Now, if you're sitting on the couch with your spouse, don't nudge them right now. That's not cool during the sermon, okay? I'll just say that real quick. But we've all used this. We've all done this. And our point is a good one. It's, look, something happened in my life that had a chain reaction. I didn't start this. Something happened and it impacted the way I reacted to it. The thing is we often focus when it comes to this natural law on only the external implications of it. See, the secret, the Apostle Paul says, is to defying this natural law isn't external, it's internal. Our circumstances externally often impact us first internally. The things we experience around us actually impact us on the inside first. What happens internally dictates our response to what we've experienced externally. It's not that this thing happened externally and immediately there's this external implication or consequence of that. He says, no, here's what happens. You experience something on the outside, it impacts you on the inside. And because of what happens to you on the inside, you do something on the outside. Now, this reminds me of a story that happened just not too long ago. I was trying to teach this to my son, Kason, and we have 2 little boys. Some of you know we have bigs and littles. Our bigs are 13, 11, our littles are 6 and 4, and our littles had gotten some new toys, and my 6-year-old was sort of lining them up. He loves like things that are like all lined up in their perfect order and sort of in the right places. And so he's sort of lining them up, and my 4-year-old, because he's a little bit of a terror sometimes, but a whole lot of fun. He's running in and grabbing them and running. And so he's running through the room, and every time Kason would get so mad and he was screaming, and I was like, look, you guys play how the fun, stop screaming, no screaming. And then finally, Kason screams again, and I call him in the room, and I know Nixon's the one that's aggravating him, but I call him in the room, and I was like, Kason, I told you no screaming. You can't just scream. And he said, Daddy, he made me scream. You've heard this one before. Daddy, Nixon made me scream. And I said, nope. That's not what happened. You got mad. He did something. You got mad. And after you got mad, you made the decision to react by screaming. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, Daddy, I did not decide that. To which I thought that was hilarious, and I laughed and I was like, this teaching is not gonna work. I'm my 6-year-old. But the point is this, oftentimes what happens to us externally happens to us and it changes something about the way we feel about ourselves or other people on the inside, and then we make a decision about how we're gonna react to those circumstances. And the Apostle Paul said I've learned a secret that whatever happens externally around me, that I can be content on the inside to whatever circumstances I experience on the outside. He goes on, he says, I know how to live with almost nothing or with everything. I know how to live with when I've got just like nothing, like I am here in prison, or when I'm lavished with gifts and I have lots of people and lots of hospitality and people are giving me things left and right, and I've experienced both. He goes on, I've learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, whether with plenty or with little. Not I'm trying, not I'm working at it, not I'm trying to get better at this or give it my best shot. I've learned, past tense, I've learned something that has changed the way I approach life, and there's nothing that can steal my contentment away because I've learned a secret. about contentment in every circumstance. Now, this is on the surface, I'll just tell you, if you're like me and you're a skeptic, Paul's going, there's a simple secret, and I'm going, that's a scam. You know, like it's all sorts of scams out there making these huge promises. We've got the secret. If you'll do this, you'll buy this, you'll experience the results you want. Here's one of the best scams that I've seen recently. And if you have this, I apologize if I offend you. Hopefully you didn't create it. Has anybody seen the Flex Belt? The Flex Belt. It's this belt that you put around you, and it's got these electrodes. It's controlled by this little thing right here. Go back one quick. It's controlled by this little thing right here, and you press the buttons, and it creates this electro stimulus to your stomach, and the idea is it's supposed to give you a workout, and if you'll use it long enough, you can get a six-pack just like this guy while sitting on the couch drinking one. Like, that's what the promise is. It's like, you don't have to do anything. You just put this thing on, you control it, and you're gonna look like this guy. And so after you buy that and that doesn't work out, I wanna sell you my Flex Belt, because I gave up on this one. And I just decided I was gonna get my own Flex Belt. And this one works good. You don't even have to do any working out. It's just when you eat too much, you just take it and it just stretches right out. So if you don't want to spend $200 on that, I'll save you the trouble, and I'll sell you this one. And if you want to give me $200, I'll take your $200 for it. But it's like this is what Paul's talking about. It's like, no, Paul, there's no shortcut. There's no secret to any of this. But Paul, when he uses a specific Greek term. When he says, I've learned this secret, this is a Greek term he doesn't use anywhere else in the New Testament. In fact, this was used in their day. This term was used to describe secret initiations into certain cult religions in their society. And he knew this would be jarring. He knew this would get people's attention, and it's exactly what he was trying to do. It's like he's saying, listen, I've entered into a secret society, which we're all skeptical of. Seems like anything that's a secret is bad. And he's like, I've entered into a secret society. And if you want in, I'll tell you the secret. If you want in, I know a guy. I can help you get in on this secret, and it will change your life. It'll make it possible for you to be content like I am, regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of what's going on in your relationships, regardless of what's going on in your job, regardless of what's going on in your finances. I've learned a secret. He says this big statement. He says, for I can do everything. I can do everything, which I love people with a can-do attitude, a positive attitude. But immediately I go, there are certain situations that make it really difficult. There are certain situations that you're against overwhelming odds, and it's impossible to be able to do everything in certain circumstances. Paul says, I can do everything. This is a famous verse. You've heard this before. Through Christ, who gives me strength. I can do all things, maybe your translation says, through Christ who gives me strength. Literally through Christ who powers me. And what does he power me with? He powers me with his divine supernatural power. So Paul might say, I guess I can't, but he can through me. I can't, but because of his power in me, I actually can through me. You understand that? It's sort of a little bit confusing, but he's going, okay, I can't do this, but through me, he can. My daughter, a couple of years ago on Valentine's Day, she had this project that she needed to do. They were making boxes for Valentine's Day, and they were having a competition, and the person that had the most creative and most beautiful box was gonna win a prize. And she really wanted to win. The problem was, it was the night before the contest, and the night before Valentine's Day, that she said, hey, I need to do this, and I got this project. I know none of you have ever dealt with this before, but the night before, she's like, Dad, I need your help. So literally, we went and got a bunch of stuff. We stayed up late into the evening, and we developed this box. And my daughter loves Disney, and specifically, she loves Beauty and the Beast. And so we decided we were gonna make a box that represented Belle's dress. And this is how it came out. It was extraordinary. We spent a bunch of time late in the evening, and truth be told, she went to bed early, and I and my wife stayed up really late, and we finished this whole box. And the funny thing was, is she went to school the next day, and she won the prize. She won the contest. And then a couple days later, after she got home, she's on the phone with her grandmother, my mother-in-law, and they call her Gigi. And she says, Gigi, and she holds up the FaceTime, look what I made. And I'm standing like just a little ways away from her. I'm like, wait, who made that? Like, she's like, Gigi, look, I won the competition. Wait, who won the competition? And she said, well, and without me saying that, she said, well, I mean, my mom and dad, and my dad stayed up really late. They helped me to do this. I couldn't have done it on my own. And that's the picture. The picture is I couldn't have done this on my own. In fact, the night before, trying to win this competition, there was no way I was gonna get this done. I didn't have the things I needed. I didn't have the money to buy it. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the time. But because of somebody who was helping me and doing this with me and through me and alongside me, I was able to accomplish something. See, this verse, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. We see this in a lot of places. You've seen this in sports. Remember this guy? He's still around. I mean, he's an amazing Christian guy. He's preaching now. He's still on TV commentating about sports, but he's an amazing guy. But you see this. It's like, this is the picture. You know, we can win the game if Christ is with us. And you've seen this where it's like, hey, I can accomplish anything. I can climb this mountain, and you'll see things like this. I can accomplish things like this through Christ who gives me strength. And you've seen things like this where there's a little kid, and I love it. We tell our kids, look, you can do anything. You can accomplish anything through Christ who gives you strength. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. In fact, I'm not mad at any of that at all. It's just not perfectly the context in which Paul's talking about. Remember, Paul's in prison. I mean, a better illustration of this is this right here. It's like, I'm sitting on the couch. I do not know what else to do, but I can get through this. We can push through this season. I can do all things. Maybe a bit more real and a bit more sobering is this. I can do everything. We can survive anything. We can work through anything. We can stand up under anything. We can walk through anything through Christ who gives us strength. You see, Christ's strength is the secret to contentment within, regardless of the circumstances I'm in. Would you just say that with me real quick? In fact, I know this is a little weird because we're not in the same room, but wherever you are, could we just say that together? Let's say that together. Christ's strength is the secret to contentment within, regardless of the circumstances I'm in. Let's do it one more time. Christ's strength is the secret to contentment within, regardless of the circumstances I'm in. Here's why this is important. Do you know in 20 years of ministry, in 20 years of pastoring and sitting with people and counseling people, you know what I've discovered? I've discovered that contentment, maybe more than anything else, leads us to self-destructive directions in life. It leads us to self-destructive behaviors. It leads us to self-destructive perspectives on life, to certain decisions that aren't for our best in the long run, to certain habits that end up leading us oftentimes to regret in life. They lead us to make decisions and lead us into circumstances where we do things we never intended to do. So here's my question is, as we sort of wrap up this series, here's my final question for you, because I think this is sort of really relevant to all of us right now, where we are in this crisis and in this season right now. We're in the meantime circumstances. And here's my question. In the meantime, what's the primary source of your discontentment? What's the primary source of your discontentment? When you think about the area of your life that you're least happy with, the area of your life where you thought you would be further along or you thought you'd be better off, when you think about that thing that maybe is irritating or it's frustrating or it's debilitating, it maybe has some acute pain in your life. When you think about that, what is it? Some of you are watching the last 5 to 10 years of your life's work and your career sort of fall apart in this season. And discontentment is an understatement. Some of you, your situation at home, you're realizing there were challenges there, and now that you're stuck there, it's not that the challenges weren't there before, it's just that they're more, you're more aware of them. And you're experiencing them on a bigger level because of being at home and sort of being stuck there together. And it makes you want to run or quit or give up. Maybe you're single. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're tired of waiting for God to bring Mr. Right or Mrs. Right in your life, and you're thinking about just settling for Mr. Right Now or Miss Right Now. Maybe some of you are in a place where you put your career on hold for your kids, and you're not feeling fulfilled in that. Maybe there's some other collateral damage of this pandemic season. I don't know what it is. There's some area of your life that you're discontent. Maybe relational, maybe professional, maybe financial. I don't know what it is, but you know. In fact, as I've been talking for the last few minutes, you're keenly aware of that thing that has you incredibly discontent. And that might even be an understatement. And the truth is, there's no signs that it's gonna get better. You don't see how it could even get better. And here's what you need to know is that discontentment creates a void in your heart. It creates a void in your life. Discontentment creates a void inside of us that we wanna fill with something. Now there's a huge spectrum. It could be a really small void or it could be a huge void. I mean, there's really small voids that are like, my cable is out, my Wi-Fi is not working, or it's slow, it feels like I'm getting throttled, and like, I just can't do all the things I wanna do, and my Zoom calls are glitching or whatever that is. There's just a whole bunch of those things. All the way to, I'm dealing with a major loss in my life. The loss of a dream, the loss of a relationship, or the loss of a family member. And there's things that have small voids, and there's things that have huge chasm type voids. And here's what's true about either one. The little discontentments that are in our lives, it's more sort of like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like a frog being boiled in water. And they just eat away at us, and they just eat away at us, and they just eat away at us. And it literally usually just kills us from the inside out as those things stack up. And then there's the big discontentments, the things that can take you out quickly, that are sort of unexpected and so big that it's like, I just don't know how I'm gonna go on. I don't know how I can be happy anymore. There's been 4 times in my life when I've had such a big void in my life, either because of a bunch of little things or because of some big things, that if I didn't find an answer, if I didn't find something that could fill that void legitimately, I wasn't sure I could make it through it. In fact, if I'm honest, if Jesus hadn't been enough for me in those circumstances, if he hadn't been this strength that Paul talks about to provide contentment to me regardless of the circumstances that I was in, I would have walked away. I'm certain I would not be in the place that I am today. The biggest of those was when I lost my dad, and some of you have heard me tell that story. My dad has having back problems. We found out he had cancer, and he had renal carcinoma, which is a cancer of the kidney. He had to have one of his kidneys out. So things were looking up. They thought they got a lot of the cancer, and then it was in his back, and he had to have back surgery, 2 back surgeries. We had some hope, and then unexpected to me, he died. And I felt like it wasn't just his life that was over. I felt like my life was over. I didn't think I could ever be happy again. It created a huge void in my life. And truth be told, I was in a season where I tried to fill that void with all sorts of other things. Things that I used to medicate, to try to escape, to get away from, to fill that void. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been there. You don't ever want to go back there. Some of you are there, or you're headed towards there. Here's my question for you. What if instead of filling that void with something unhealthy or harmful, something you'll later regret, what if you turned to Christ? What if you just decided in this season, I'm gonna choose to turn to Christ and his strength to get through these circumstances? Even though there's no sign of it getting better, even though there's no hope, even though I don't know what to do, I'm gonna turn to Christ. In the words of Corrie ten Boom, you may never know that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. What if this is your opportunity to learn what Paul learned? What if this is your opportunity to learn the secret of being content regardless of the circumstances you're in? What if you were to respond in such a way that you were to lean into and to walk towards and to find the fulfillment of the void that you feel and your discontentment inside in Christ and find strength in him? You have no idea what hangs in the balance of a decision to do that. Paul didn't. Paul had no idea what hung in the balance, but God did. And God went on to use him to transform the world, to transform our society, to transform people's lives, including you and me. Here's an idea. Normally we can't do this, or normally we don't really have this option, but it's an advantage to online church. There's gotta be some advantages to online church, right? If you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube, I know this would be sort of putting it out there, but what if you were to just type in the chat, or if you're watching on your TV through the live stream, what if you were to log on to the live stream and just type into the chat the thing that has you the most discontent right now? My guess is there's a whole bunch of other people that would encourage you. There's a whole bunch of other people that would pray for you. There's a whole bunch of other people that would pray specifically that you would find strength to get through whatever you're dealing with, however big the chasm and void is to however small. There's no competition, and it doesn't matter. They're all significant. They all open us up to the opportunity to walk down a path to fulfill that void with something unhealthy. Unhealthy big or unhealthy small is still unhealthy. What if you were to just type it in the chat? I believe that it's powerful when we share one another's burdens. We allow other people to carry things with us. It's not only powerful, it's biblical. The thing is you have no idea how somebody else's encouragement might help you gain the strength of Christ in this season that you need. The strength to get through your irritation or through something that's painful and difficult, or something that's just sort of a nag that potentially could open to a much bigger void. Now, I just have to say this real quick. We all know this verse, this famous verse that we had a minute ago. I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. But do you know what comes after that? Nobody knows what the verse that comes after that, unless you were on our night of worship a couple of weeks ago. I told you on our Tuesday night of worship what comes after this. Here's what I love. After the Apostle Paul says, look, I was never really in need because I can do all things. I've learned the secret of contentment. I can do all things. I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. The very next verse, look at what he says. He says, even so, you have done well to share with me in my present difficulty. Paul understood something. He understood that this is how God works oftentimes. He didn't need their support, but he was super grateful for it because that's how Christ strengthened him in that season. In fact, that's how Christ often does it for all of us. As we strengthen each other through the strength that he's given each one of us. That's what happened for me. I leaned into other people and leaned on other people. And you know what? In that season, I learned a secret. I learned the secret that I couldn't get through this. I couldn't make sense of it. God, I would cry out, God, I can't deal with this. I can't understand. I can't figure out how to go on. I can't figure out how life is ever gonna be anything I wanted or expected it to be. But you can. I can't, God, but you can through me. And I learned to breathe that. Some of us just need to learn to breathe this truth today. God, I can't do this, but you can through me. God, I can't know and make sense of what I'm in the middle of. I can't figure out how to work this out or fix this problem or get through this mess, but you can through me. You see, whether today is your cable is out bad day or you need to have your kidney out bad day, here's the truth. Christ is more than enough for you. That's the secret that the Apostle Paul learned. That regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how overwhelming they looked, he could be okay, and so can you. Through Christ, who empowers, who strengthens us on the inside. We're gonna finish with a song, and it's a powerful song. In the chorus, the song says, in every storm and in every battle. I love that. In every storm and every battle, all my life, you are more than enough for me. And here's what I want you to do. As we sing this song, I want you to stand. In fact, it talks about standing in this song. I want us to stand in this moment, stand here in this moment and declare to our God. And some of you need help declaring it. And this posture is gonna help you stand. Some of you are going, I wanna believe that this is true, but this feels like one of those scams like the Flex Belt. And what you need is some help getting your heart to transform your mind and realize that this is true. And a posture of standing in this moment might just be the thing that helps you. I believe God will meet you. And I believe in this moment, standing, that sort of posture, could be the type of thing that causes us to sense God's presence with us. And so I'm gonna invite you to stand right now, wherever you are. Whether you're on the patio, whether you're in your kitchen, whether you're at the kitchen table, or whether you're sitting on the couch, would you just stand up right where you are? And can we just stand together and declare to our God that he is enough for us, that we believe his power and his strength is enough for us, regardless of the circumstances around us. Let's pray together. God, I pray today for somebody who's watching, somebody who's dealing with something that, like the Apostle Paul, was painful. It's been persistent in their life. It's felt debilitating. God, I pray today, like Paul, who understood the in the meantime circumstances, like the ones that we're dealing with. I just pray that you would help us to learn, help us to know, help us to realize that you want to provide, that you want to invade, that you want to change, that you want to transform, that you want to strengthen us from the inside out, that regardless of what's happening around us externally, we will have the strength to deal with it because of the power we can tap into on the inside of us. God, I pray for somebody who's standing for the first time today, maybe alone in their apartment or in their home, and maybe they feel lonely. I pray that you would quicken to them right now, that you are right there with them. I pray that they would be encouraged. We would all be encouraged by the thousands of people that are joining with us on this online stream together today, standing all together, professing this truth that we know comes from you. This guarantee that if we'll look to you and lean into you, that you'll give us the strength to walk through whatever circumstances we're in. God, I just proclaim the truth of that today, and I proclaim my incredible joy in knowing today that I don't have to be enough. I don't have to be enough for the people that I lead. I don't have to be enough for my spouse. I don't have to be enough for my kids. I don't have to be enough for anyone because I can't be enough for anyone. But you through me can be enough in my life and for those in the lives of those around me. So God, I just pray you'd move and stir as we sing these truths. I pray it in Jesus' name, amen.
Your grace is alive in me. I'm caught in the overflow of mercy that won't let go. Here on this holy ground, standing before you now, Jesus, you are more than enough. If there's one thing I know, it's how you love me
What a way to close the service, right? And it's gonna be like rattling around in my brain all week. Jesus, you are more than enough. This has been a great series. This In the Meantime has felt so good for my heart and where I've found myself. But I'll be honest with you, when Joel mentioned at the beginning of the service that he's kicking off this Rebooting Life series next week, part of me went, oh, I'm ready for that. Like I'm ready to reboot my life. So next Sunday, we're gonna be kicking that off. Make sure you tune in for that. You're not gonna wanna miss it. But we actually have something before that, actually that happens right now. So immediately following this service, we have a drop-in discussion that you can be a part of. Now, maybe you have somebody that you discuss the truths that you hear here every week with. So maybe it's your small group, or maybe it's your spouse, or maybe it's your friends, and you have the types of discussions where you can talk about what it looks like to apply these truths. I just know for me, if I don't, then next Sunday rolls around and I've forgotten what we talked about the previous Sunday. So like I need to process these truths with people. So we have an environment that's just for you right now. So click the link on Facebook that's in the comments. Click the button right below the live feed if that's where you're watching this. I actually am gonna be the one that's leading this discussion. So I'd love to see you there. Love to have you be a part of that with me and with our church, be a part of that discussion. Well, it's been so great to be with you, to worship with you, even if it's in this digital format. We look forward to seeing you actually on Tuesday night for prayer and worship right here. Look forward to seeing you then.